Do you remember QPR? Channon and Ball do.
Hello again and welcome to another hour of Memory Lane football in the company of Mick Channon and Alan Ball. Well, this week we're concentrating on two London clubs who had probably their best teams ever during the 1970s. Crystal Palace sported names like Don Rogers, while Queen's Park Rangers nearly won the league title in 1975-76. Alan, what memories do you have of that QPR side managed by Dave Sexton, including people like Stan Bowles and Jerry Francis?
They had a good mixture of memory serves me well, of old heads and good ability, and young players bursting through like Jerry Francis. And I thought that year they were going to win the title, and they looked all set to win it. And I think Liverpool come and just pipped them right at the very end. That's right.
They were, of course, in those days playing on grass, and I think you have quite strong thoughts about what's happened since there, don't you?
Well, I still think the stadium that they played in was ever so tight. It was a bit like the Dell in many ways, and it was always difficult to go there and get results. And I think when the plastic has been put down for them, it's just made it that harder again. I think the home ground has always been a hard place to go to get results for them. It's always, stood in their favour really.
And to get back to the Rangers' time of that era, there were players like Gibbons, Bowles, Masson, and so on. There were some good players there, weren't there?
They had a very good team, as I say, if memory serves me right, of experience as well. I think Frank McClintock had left Arsenal and gone there as well. I think John Hollins was there.
Yeah.
David Webb as well. I think he was there. Yeah.
And Mick, you must have particularly fond memories of that team because 2 days after Southampton won the Cup in '76, that same lineup of Queen's Park Rangers stars all came to the Dell.
Yeah, I mean that was it. I mean I think we could have played anyone that night. We just won the FA Cup. You could have played, David. I mean I have seen you play.
Only once.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes, it didn't really matter, but they were a good side, and they, but it's like a lot of teams. Ipswich have done it in the past. They've had a sort of, and Southampton have finished runners up. They've all had a crack at it, but they just don't seem to be able to carry it through year after year. But they were a very good side, and like Bawley says, once the likes of McClintock and Webby and that, they'd had their little fling after they've been very successful elsewhere, then they tend to get on that glass mountain, and it's very hard to sort of lift yourself back up again. I agree with you about the AstroTurf. It's an artificial game played on an artificial surface. It's not football for me. You don't get the same excitement, or it's not football at all.
But Rangers have always had a problem in that they live in the shadow of the big brothers in London, and they've always been one of the smaller London clubs, and yet they did have that glorious moment in the mid-70s when they had a good side and they were pulling in good crowds.
All credit to the manager at the time and the coaches at the time. They built a side and got it going as well as they can. But as Mickey says,
there's no secret. They got good players in.
Just can't maintain it. They got good old pros in, and they did a great job for them, but only for a limited amount of time. As we spoke about Liverpool, they just carried on year after year after year. But QPR, they had their spell, and this is one of the best sides they've had.
We've had the same sort of experience at Southampton. Laurie basically built a side, on a lot of old players, and once the young players stop coming through, then you have a bit of a slide.
But Queen's Park Rangers, despite all that, as I say, not a bad side in the mid-70s and gave us one or two quite nice memories.
Some great characters as well, wasn't it?
Right, well, it's time for Rangers in action now then. It's April 1976. They're at the top of the table. They're at home to Middlesbrough. The commentator here is Brian Moore.
Bowles. Outside of his left boot, trying to get Thomas away. And Thomas winning it well, beating Madrid there. There's the cross going in towards Gibbons. Lovely cross there by Thomas, and Gibbons just beaten to it by some superb and desperate defence at the same time by Stuart Bowles. Now it's with Don Masson. Bowles Mills, number 10. Curling it beautifully there for Ian Gillard. Still with Gillard, and a shot and a good save by Flat. Well, Gillard wiggled his way through there nicely and let go quite a good powerful shot, but Flat saved well. Biggest shout at half-time, I think, of the whole game, probably, was when it was announced over the loudspeaker that Manchester United were 1-0 down at Ipswich and that Derby were losing at Manchester City. Well, here's Gibbons. That's a good save. Beautiful save there from Jim Platt as Gibbons let that go. Bryan in first. Really only Boersma and Armstrong playing it forward. Gibbons, beautifully timed leap there, beating Bowles. Bowles now to Thomas. This must be it. No, it's not, because it was beautifully played away by John Hickson, the number 2. A fullback who came, well, he's known as a striker at Middlesbrough. He began his career as a fullback, though, at Sheffield Wednesday. And when it seemed that Thomas was really there on the point of scoring, he saved superbly for Middlesbrough. Mills and Webb. A foul by Webb on Boersma, just outside that area. So can Middlesbrough do something here? With about 8 minutes of the second half gone. Stan Bowles has been behind the kickers, organising that Rangers wall. Saunis with a shot right through there, and it's there by Boersma. Well, that really is a shaker for QPR. As Saunis took that tremendous free kick through the wall, Parks went down, couldn't hold it, saw it at the very last moment, and Boersma was there to snap it up and score his first goal for Middlesbrough. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Middlesbrough 1, and Phil Boersma has shaken everybody at Loftus Road. Clement. Now Francis. Clement again. Down he goes, penalty. Middlesbrough don't like it, but you can be sure Jack Taylor won't be moved as Clement went flying there. The referee had no hesitation in pointing to the spot. And so it is that Rangers now have a golden chance to get a golden equaliser. Stuart Bohm can't believe that it's been given, but it has. Stan Bowles is normally the man who takes them, but he's not going to take them. Jerry Francis is the fellow who has got the responsibility. So a skipper's responsibility for Jerry Francis against Jim Platt, and he's got it. 1-1. Francis puffs out his cheeks because he knows that wasn't the best penalty he'll ever take, and in fact it went under Jim Platt's body as Jerry Francis took it. Platt dived to his left, but it went under his body into the back of the net. Rangers 1, Middlesbrough 1. Clintock, and another Middlesbrough throw. Nail-biting times these. Masson. Well, what about that for a pass again? Straight to Jerry Francis. Bowles. But Armstrong can bring it away for Middlesbrough. Not far, though. Well, he might. Now Hollins. There's people like Hollins and Gillard and Clement who've got to come forward, otherwise they're always going to be outnumbered. But here's Givens. Yes! His way in across that penalty area, the right foot, and there was a slight deflection on the way, taking an even wider pass Platt, and just inside the far post. Queen's Park Rangers 2, Middlesbrough 1. Don Givens, the man who got it, on 13 for the season now. Saunis. Tremendous comeback here by Queen's Park Rangers after suffering that early blow in this second half. Hollins, here's Thomas away now. Hickton is after him. And Hickton caught him at the expense of a corner. So here's Masson now with the corner for QPR. Dave Sexton there, a little more relieved now, but he won't be happy until there's another one in. It's a deep one this time towards David Webb. It'll come to Jerry Francis. A touch here for Stan Bowles. Looking for just the yard and looking for just the angle, and Cooper is really at him like a terrier all the time. Here's Francis. Ball still remarkably in play. Boersma. Madrid. Hickton, high towards David Mills. A backward header, and Armstrong is there, trying to tuck it back for Saunis, but it went astray. McAndrew. Done very well there, but McClintock blocking it. Oh, and McClintock's half lost it as well. Here's Mills again. They're not out of the wood yet, but Hollins got him out of it beautifully. Nice bit of control there by Bowles, but he's given it away as well to Saunis. Now Gillard. And away goes Thomas. Inside for Don Givens. Bowles is steaming through the middle there, but it was a fraction too hard for him. And even so, Thomas very nearly got there before Platt. Webb, played for Gillard. Oh, a nice dummy there by Givens, on for Bowles. Bowles has gone through to the middle as well, and he almost got there, and he might still get there. Francis hammering it in, that's number 3. Superb break by Bowles and Givens, and when Givens looped it in, it looked as though Bowles might have a chance, and then it looked as though he lost it. Platt managed to block it, but it only came to Jerry Francis, and he whacked it into the back of the net. 3-1. And Jerry Francis' second goal. And now Bowles. Look at that ball played there for Thomas. Here's a great chance now for Thomas. Oh, and a marvellous save. But Thomas is still there with a chance. But nobody up to support him, so he has to go on his own. And Platt saves the second time. Marvellous run there by Dave Thomas. And a really excellent save in the first place from Jim Platt. And with 5 minutes to go, Chairman Jim Gregory has left his seat in the director's box, as he usually does. He can't bear to watch anymore, even though Rangers are these two goals up. Hassan. Bowles. Still Bowles. Will this be the fourth? Yes! Stanley Bowles. They're running riot now, Rangers. Carving them up. Easy, easy, roar the crowd as they're on their feet everywhere. As Bowles took that ball beautifully, snaked his way through, right foot shot just inside the post. Queen's Park Rangers 4, Middlesbrough 1. Who to my mind has probably been Rangers' best player on this afternoon. Webb absolutely magnificent, again doing a good defender's job there. But Armstrong dinking that one in. Oh, and it's there by Bryan. Well, that stuns everybody, and in fact I think half the crowd didn't even realise it was a goal. But as it came in there was just a moment of hesitation, and Bryan whacked it into the roof of the net to score the second goal for Middlesbrough.
Victory then to Queen's Park Rangers 4-2. And Mick, one of the fascinating players for me in that game was Stan Bowles, because you tend to forget Stan Bowles was a very popular player at that time, went on to play for England and scored a good goal.
Fascinating for me as well, because I think that Stan was probably one of the most underrated players that I've ever sort of had the pleasure to play with. I mean, I remember playing with him in Italy in the game we lost 2-0. And it was me and Keegan and him played up front. And to be honest with you, me and Keegan didn't kick a ball. But Stan would, you know, he was a good competitor and he got stuck in. Talking about Stan though, the great thing was he was a fierce gambler. Ball he knows. He used to turn up at the track at times and that. But he's one of those players that he just played football because he loved to play it. And he still plays now, you know, for a local pub team, Stan. He's that type of lad. Yeah. Although he's a gambler and he'll gamble every penny. He's unbelievable. But I always remember telling him a story. I says, I often, you know, when I was at Southampton, I often used to watch the 3:15 race. And, you know, I would be half stripped up in the players' room at Southampton, shoot down, like, more or less, I'd have my boots on and that, listen to Laurie's, you know, last few minutes talk and straight out onto the pitch. And Stan, I always remember Stan saying to me, he said, well, I can top that, he says. He says, I've watched the 3:15 race. He says, I've had my kit on. He says, I've run out the door, out the ground, round the corner to the betting shop, picked up my winnings, back into the dressing room and straight onto the pitch. And I tell you, that is a true story. That is a lad that he wasn't wound up. He wasn't frightened about who he was playing against. And I tell you, he would go out and he'd play from there. He'd play from the heart.
As well.
Go on then, Alan.
Oh, he can top that.
Mickey Channon, right? Grand National Day, Mickey Channon, race starts 3:15. Stood with his feet on the touchline, listening to the race. He got about 5 balls, never moved a yard, and backed the winner. 3:20 start to play. That'll do for me. 3:20.
Did we win?
Only when you start to play.
That's right.
That particular game, they looked as if they were going to win the league.
Yes.
And that was why you saw all the passion and all the thing going at Loftus Road. And we thought, players at that time, that you know, it was only a matter of time before the league, and as we said, they just got pipped at the end. And for Frank McLean to leave a club like Arsenal, and he's getting on in his days, to go there and lead again from the heart, to me that shows the strength and the character of the person. Plus you got Webby in there, you know, another one, a great fighter, another one who's had success in another club, gone there. You got Johnny Hollins, exactly the same. And to me, that was the strength of the side.
You probably had a mixture, you know. Jerry Francis was the youth, with the young lads coming through.
Yeah.
And I always felt that Jerry Francis was probably a better club player than he was international. You know, he did quite well at international and he was captain of England. But I mean, for me, when he was playing, that was his biggest problem. If he was a horse, they'd have shot him, wouldn't they? You know, he was always injured. But I mean, he was an exceptional young player. And, you know, I mean, he was a good midfield player. And like I said, they had that balance. They had the youth. Don Givens up front, who was an out-and-out goal scorer. Stan with a bit of flair, and they were a well-balanced side.
Right. Well, after the break, we're going to see Crystal Palace taking on Manchester United in a truly memorable match. Join us in a couple of minutes.